What's going on, guys? Wingless 2, Foul Play. So, just to kind of catch us up as to what happened in the first issue, our main protagonist, Astro, he is a bird born without wings, and we get to see him as he is born to Grayson and Marta. And they try to help him overcome this adversity, right? So, Grayson, his dad, is trying to teach him how to jump from branch to branch and use that to navigate around Central. And Mom, in the meantime, gets a little blanket, and this is what she uses to take him to and from school. And we get to see Crowbar here. He is the leader of a murder of crows, and he now has a serum that is basically used for brain control, right? Mind control. And he uses that for a raccoon named Rakeen to send over to the Cardinals and kill him. He wants to get rid of him because the Cardinals there, in particular Grayson, is keeping him and his little group out of Central. And so he wants to take it back over. And we do see that this plays out in brutal fashion. Both parents are murdered. Grayson's the first to go, followed shortly thereafter by Marta. Now, Astro, he falls down to presumably his death, but he was able to grab the blanket and use it as a parachute to get to safety and hide. And then we fast forward 2 years from that moment, and we see Astro is now a very well put together fighter. And he was interrogating one of Crowbar's little minions named Peck, and just trying to figure out where's the beast that murdered his family. And that was the last we saw, and we're going to pick up from there. So this is written by John Schell and illustrated by Veronica Saraceno. And here we have Astro present day, and he is reflecting on this moment where he fell and he was able to parachute with the blanket that his mom got for him, and it was his saving grace. And he makes note that his enemies will not be given any kind of saving grace. As we get our Chapter 2 title here. We go over to the alleyway where Astro was at the end of Issue 1, and you see the bodies of all the beaten and dead crows as Crowbar gets here, and he's just like, what the hell happened? And he just the other minions are like, I have no idea. And they come across Peck and note that, yeah, he's dying. And Crowbar seems to have a particular attachment to Peck. As you see in his face, he's really just like, what the hell? And then he ironically calls whoever did this to Peck a monster, being what he unleashed on Astro. I find that very ironic that he is he thinks so much of somebody that would beat up one of his guys after what he presumably did to a family, including killing a small child. And so Peck says, I only told him where Rakeen was, the raccoon that ate the two parents. And he's like, told who, Peck? He's like, Grayson's boy, he's alive. He's like, impossible, I saw him fall. But if he is alive, then there's only one Fowl that could, train him to the skill that Grayson had. And so he has at least a lead of where to go next. He then cuts his hand, and we see that his blood, instead of red, is a glowing green. He tells Peck to drink, and we see Peck now turns green and his eyes glow and all that fun stuff. Collects the feathers, and he's just like, all right, phase 2 is about to begin, but first, we need to tie up some loose ends. We then cut over to a toy store where we see Astro is in the middle of a fight right now, and he is fighting a bat named Bloodline. And it is quite the epic fight here. Like, they're going all over the place. We're getting a good demonstration of all the skill that Astro now possesses, and he is extremely agile and uses that to his advantage. So he is doing quite well, given that he has no wings. And comes over here, dodges a slash, gets over, slides. Bloodline, he's getting ready some throwing knives, or, like throwing feathers. Throws them at Astro. Astro grabs one of them, flings it back with his mouth, And Bloodline, he like blocks it with his wing, but it opens him up for an attack. And so Astro just puts Bloodline right on his ass. And he's like, "It appears the great Bloodline has been defeated. Wouldn't you agree, Master?" So, yes, this is our mentor, our father-like figure, the guy who's been taking care of Astro since he was a baby and helping raise him and teaching him how to fight. So the way I kind of looked at him was like Master Splinter. For any of those familiar with the Turtles, he acts as father and as sensei to him. And so he's like, "Oh, you've done well. Your father would be very proud if he were still here with us." And then he goes on to remind him, "But he's not. And I don't say that just to hurt I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I want you to know the gravity of the situation that we're in. We have many dangerous foes out there, and I don't want you to ever take it for granted." And so we get a little bit of a reflection back when Grayson was still alive and fighting alongside Bloodline. And we see that they would fight all sorts of bad guys. He said, but there was one who just kind of was waiting, and he was something born from the past. And so we cut to the night where Grayson and Marta were killed, and we see that Bloodline over here, he's waiting, and he's just waiting for Grayson. They were given a tip about a fighting ring that they were going to go stop, and by the time Bloodline realized that it was all a trick, it was too late, as he's overhearing Marta call for Grayson's help. So he tries really hard to get over there, but it in fact is way too late, as my camera's not going to pick it up, but Rakeen, the raccoon, he's actually leaving at this point. We saw the damage that he did in issue 1. And so all that Bloodline is finding are just the feathers left over. However, he does overhear some crows talking about how they need to scout out the area and make sure that the boy is dead. And so this gives Bloodline just a glimmer of hope that he might be able to find somebody alive. And so he scans around, and over underneath this park bench, he sees a little bird with tears in his eyes. And he Bloodline approaches Astro and says, "Hey, I'm a friend. You can trust me. I'm not here to hurt you." And Astro comes crying over. He's like, "Why did they kill him?" And he's just crying his eyes out. And Bloodline's doing all he can to hold back his tears. And he's like, "I know. And soon we'll make them all pay." Then cut to current day. And he's talking about how Crowbar is able to manipulate minds. And he doesn't know how yet, but he found it very interesting that somebody like Rakeen was able to just be controlled so easily. And it's like, Rakeen may have been the one that killed your family, but Crowbar is the one behind that. Don't forget that. And sooner or later, you're going to have to, start sorting through some choices that's going to decide the kind of person you are. And you need to figure out what kind of person you're going to become, as he gives Astro the remaining feathers from his parents. We then cut over to Central Park, and now we're going to do something a little different and follow a couple human characters. Now, I'm not certain how relevant these characters are, and but just in case, we have Ziggy, CJ, and Charlie, and they're aware of these disappearances. There's about 17 disappearances around Central Park, and they see that the police have kind of shut down the area. Now, they believe that it's some sort of government conspiracy, and they want to sneak in there, record whatever's going on, and expose it all, and get like internet famous and that kind of shit. So they sneak on in. They get by the cops just barely. One notices a noise, but he just thinks that it's his mind playing with him. Like, even the cops are freaked out about this area. They get deep into Central Park, and they notice a crow when another one swoops in, knocks down the phone, breaks it. They fumble about for a minute before they use another one of their phones, and then they notice Crowbar sitting there. and he's like smiling, and even they're like kind of freaked out by Crowbar smiling, and then gives them like the glowing eye glare here, and then 17, and yes, I did count them all, 17 other eyes appear as now the three of them are completely freaked out. And as we see, Crowbar now has all the humans under mind control as well. And that is where we end. And so I very much enjoy this book. No real flaws to speak of, not even really any nitpicks I had. I do have concerns, but nothing that is standing out at this moment. So, very likable characters. Bloodline, of course, is a great addition. He's, like I said, the Master Splinter type. Took him in, trained him up on how to fight, and also, deal with the fact that he also has, have Astro deal with the fact that he has no wings and teaching him to fight that way. Crowbar, we're seeing him actually care about his underlings. And so at first I thought maybe it was kind of a contradiction from what we saw in the beginning where he threw Johnny to Rakeen and demonstrating that he's got control over this raccoon for us. Johnny was disrespectful to him, and he was not going to tolerate that. So I'm like, okay, that all still fits. You can still care about it, but care about your people, like what we see here with Peck, but still have that deal with Johnny. I'm A-okay with that. Like, none of that seems like it's out of character or anything like that. And I still do like a villain who cares about the people that follow him, but will also not tolerate any kind of insubordination and stuff like that. And I'm okay with how both events are playing out, where we got a lot of care for Peck, and we threw Johnny right to the raccoons. And like I said, with Bloodline, what a great addition to for him. Seeing how much he cares, and this is somebody that mentors Astro, but also mentored Grayson as well. It's nice to have that kind of character. Now, I don't feel like he is going to be long for this series. He's probably going to die here very shortly. It's not uncommon for these kind of stories to kill off a mentor like that. Especially when right here before we actually get introduced to him, Crowbar sets up here, he's like, well, if the boy lives, I know who's going to be training him. So, yeah, it's not going to be too much longer before Crowbar is going to be sending somebody after Bloodline over here. Now, my concerns is this mind control that Crowbar has. Now that we know that it can go in, affect humans, we got to be very mindful of what all is, what capabilities are there now. And you're taking a wingless bird and you're putting them up against humans, a raccoon, presumably cats and dogs at this point, other birds. This is all under Crowbar's control. And yes, I understand that this is supposed to be like an underdog story, but you got to make sure that it stays believable. So far, John Shell, his writing has been very good, and I don't think that this is anything he can't handle, but that doesn't mean I don't have a concern for this. This is a huge thing that we're introducing here by having humans being taken over, because they have a lot of resources. Now, if they're just mindless zombies and they can't utilize tools, okay, fair enough. But if they can, you're really going to have to do a lot of work to justify everything that's going to happen when encountering them. And also the little serum that he's been using, what he used to transform Rakeen over. And now, is he taking it and just having it in his bloodstream, and that's why we saw the cut? Or is he finding a way to inject all of these critters? So, like, when Rakeen got infected, was it because he bit Crowbar? Or did Crowbar manage to get him injected? That I want a little bit of clarity as to how he's getting everybody. We saw it with Peck that Crowbar cuts himself and makes Peck drink. But how are all these humans getting it? That needs to be addressed and let us know how he's distributing all of this. Also, are these permanent effects? Are they just temporary? How is this all going to be undone? Because I'm assuming that this is going to have a happier ending where Astro comes out on top. But how do we get there? Especially because I doubt that these are going to be, what are we going to be up to? Assuming that these 3 are also going to get taken over, that's 20 humans. And I'm sure that that's not going to be the end of it. So is this going to be like just a temporary effect and then it all kind of sorts itself out and that's when Astro gets the upper hand? Okay, fair enough. He's got a limited amount of time. Astro buys himself enough time to get out of whatever situations are at hand using this agility. Okay, fine, I can see that. But if it's one of those where it's like a permanent effect, then you really got to justify how you're going to undo all of this. So those are the concerns that I have. But overall, there's no real flaws. Because just because I have concerns does not make that a flaw here. So I will call this one still flawless and also give this one a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's a very good story. I guess the only thing is, so of the 2 10 out of 10 books here, I would still give it a little bit more to the first one being slightly better, simply just because it stays with me longer. This one doesn't stay with me quite as long after I've read it. Like I enjoy it. I'm enjoying my moment with me, but that first one, after reading it, it still lingers with me for another day or two after reading it. This one, it'll stay with me for like a moment, but then it just goes on its own, just with most comic books, both good and bad. I'll digest it, and then I've had my moment. Okay, moving on with my life. The other one stays with me, so that's why I kind of tip my hat to that one a little bit more over this one, but both still excellent books. I highly recommend both. And if this sounds like something that would interest you, check the link in the description where you can get a copy for yourself, or at least 2 to follow for any second chance campaigns that may arise. But that is all I have for today, guys, so until next time, take care and God bless.